Okay, it is right up the noon hour, the lunch hour. Hi, I'm Leslie with the New Mexico Small Business Development Center, and this is one of my favorite webinars. I love Bricks to Clicks because it's just the title says it all. I want to tell you that we are doing closed captioning for anybody that needs it. So you'll see right there at the bottom of your screen, kind of on the right-hand side, at least on my screen, it's on the bottom right. You'll see a little tab that says Live Transcript with a little white button that says CC. If you click on that, it'll say Hide Transcript, View Full Transcript. You can either disable it if you like, or you can leave it running. I just wanted to let everyone know that it was there at the bottom. Also, Q&A. Type your questions in for Eric. He loves questions all the time because that kind of lets us just keep the conversation flowing. And so if you have any, type them into the Q&A. If you want to raise your hand and speak to Eric, let me know and we'll get to you also. So we have Bricks to Click with public speaker Eric Spellmann. Take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. This is one of my favorite presentations as well because there's so many good beginner tips in it. I love this a lot, and I often get a lot of feedback on this one from people saying, wow, I learned quite a bit from that one. So pay attention. Now, as always, in case you're new, don't feel like you have to write every single point down because my wonderful host will be sending you a copy of this entire presentation. So I do want you to take notes, but take those notes on questions that you may have about how it may apply to you. In other words, personal applicability. In other words, maybe it gives you some ideas you can use. So take that and ask questions anytime you want. The easiest way we found is to simply put them in the Q&A in the chat. And our moderators are watching that. And when they get a question, they will ask me. And you can ask at any point. You're not interrupting anything. Okay. I just want you to pretend that we're all just kind of sitting around a table talking. That's what this is about. I'll probably just be doing a little more talking than most. Okay. So bricks to clicks. Let's move on. What do I mean by clicks? I mean, other than being just a cute little humorous name there. When we say clicks, I want to be very specific. I'm not going to get technical here. This is not a techie type of thing. This is for everybody. So when I say clicks, you want your content to go viral. You want to get a lot of clicks. And the best way to get a lot of clicks is to convince people to share it with others. You see, I can only share what I do on the internet with you or with my friends, a pretty small circle when you look at the whole planet. The only way to reach a large amount of people, well, other than advertising, of course, which costs money, is to convince those who are looking at it to share it with others. And so that's what I want to cover. It's an amazing strategy that costs you nothing and yet can achieve huge results. So pay attention. The key is you want people talking about you. You want people talking about you. You want people talking about you. That is key. You always want people with your company's name in their head. The little concept called top of mind awareness. Okay. And what that means is when someone mentions your industry, does your name come up in their head? Are you the top of mind? It'd be like if I said, hey, where do you want to go eat pizza? Now, when I said that, every single one of you thought about a pizza place. Now, it might have been a national chain or it might be a local place. But the point is, you all thought of one. That business occupies a very valuable place in your mind, the top. In other words, when you think of pizza, you think of them. It's extremely valuable because it pretty much means you're going to be the one getting the majority of the business if you're that business. So this can be one great way of reminding people who you are so that it sticks in their head. So when they think of the industry in which you're in, they think of you. It saves you a lot of time and money. When you can convince people to think of you and only you, that's advertising you don't have to buy. That's promotion you don't have to do because it's already done. Huge brand awareness is possible. Um, you've always seen the stories on the news of companies that just suddenly made the internet and their sales go crazy because of something they did or a picture they took or something. But the point is that brief promotion they got skyrocketed their business. Now, the key to understand going viral, the key to understand how to get all these clicks is to realize where it began. It began with Microsoft Hotmail. Now, Hotmail was a free email, one of the first free email services out there, even before Gmail and Yahoo. It was one of the first free emails because you'll remember back then, back in the old days of the internet, you typically got one email address when you signed up for internet service. And you would have to pay more if you wanted multiple email addresses. And even then, you only got a certain amount of space. Well, what Hotmail did was it gave people an amazing amount of space, didn't charge them a dime. And they could log into Hotmail just by going on the web. It was amazing. And everyone thought, what's the catch? What's the catch? Why is Microsoft giving me free email? Well, when you sign up, it becomes crystal clear. Now, it's not a bad thing, but just realize that Microsoft had a plan when they did this. You see, every message you send in Hotmail is tagged at the very bottom, down in the signature area. At the very last thing of every message you sent is this little statement: get your private free email at hotmail.com. And if someone clicked on that, guess where they would go? To the sign up screen for Hotmail. So basically, what Microsoft did was they offered this free service. And then every time you used their free service, you were promoting the free service, and other people were signing up because you simply emailed them. Hotmail grew exponentially. I mean, it went crazy bonkers, and it was an amazing success. The strategy they used at the time, they really didn't have a name for it, but it turns out it has everything to do with going viral. Others sign up, rinse, repeat, it keeps growing. The key is self-replication. In other words, the key is you want to start something, but it kind of takes on a life of its own and it continues to grow. Even when you're asleep, it continues to grow. You can see examples of that out on the internet. I know, I've done a lot of videos on YouTube, and after a while, you get to a point where you're not having to do anything anymore. The videos take on a life of their own. I mean, my videos get seen 5,000 times a day, and I'm not lifting a finger to promote them. It's because of how replication occurs. And once you reach a certain point, it starts to be found on its own, it starts to be shared on its own, and people start to sign up. The key to this going viral is you start it, but you don't have to keep it going. You start it, but it takes on a life of its own. Okay. And it's not as hard as you think. A lot of people think that going viral, if you will, is accidental or it's random or it's luck. Oh, wow, they're so lucky. They're getting all that national news because, their stuff went viral. Was it an accident? Was it luck? Others must share it. Okay. Now that's the key. You've got to figure out how to convince others to share your stuff. And I'm going to tell you how. Over and over, once you build it and you build it well, it will go for quite a long time. I mean, just think about some of the viral things you've seen out there, some of the little viral videos, or think of any joke you've seen that you've shared or meme, a little graphic or a cartoon or something. What viral is not, like I said earlier, it is not luck. People don't just get lucky and go viral. That's not how this works. Viral is not about just being in the right place at the right time. Now, sometimes the effectiveness of viral can be affected by, circumstances. In other words, if you catch an amazing video of a UFO landing, then the sheer circumstances of that will tend to cause people to share it. So breaking news often goes viral, especially if you're the only one there. People who take pictures of tornadoes, people who, take pictures of a dam collapsing and water rushing in. All of those type of videos go viral, and they are very dependent on the circumstances. We're not talking about that. I'm not talking about you being in the right place at the right time. Also, it's not random. It doesn't just, hit them and not you. Going viral is way more planned than you think. Way more planned. And you may not realize how viral it will go, but most items that go viral were planned and hoped that they would go viral. They're not just random. Okay. So stop assuming that. This is something that you can make happen as long as you understand the psychology of it all. Are there any questions so far?
We don't have any questions right now, but
Okay.
I'm interested on planning.
Okay, here we go. The key is to understand a concept called social currency. Okay, social currency. And every single one of us want to be paid. We want to be paid in social currency, social money, if you will. We want to be rich with it. The key is to understand how we get it. Okay, when you realize that one of a human's basic needs is to receive this social currency, then you start to figure out how to do it. Let me explain what social currency actually is. Why do we forward things on? Why do we tell a joke? Why do we, when you're standing in a group of friends at a party, why do you just suddenly tell a joke? Why do you tell anyone a joke? Why do you forward a meme on? Why? Why do you think? It's because you want something in return. Okay. You may have never thought about it that way, but it's true. Social currency is basically when something we do or say makes us look smart or funny to our friends. In other words, if we've either educated them or entertained them. And the reason we share it with them is because what? We want a response. We want feedback, and we want very specific feedback. Let me go back. The feedback that we want is typically non-actual money. Okay. So for instance, when people are in a theater and the actors are on the stage and they finish acting, what do? They all bow. And then what do we in the audience do? We clap. When we clap, when we give applause, we are giving them social currency. We are basically saying, good job. And every human being wants that. Every human being needs that. Think of it as relevance. It's a basic human need. We all need to be appreciated. We all need to have someone say, wow, that's either funny or wow, I learned something. We all need that. We all need applause. We all need someone saying good job. We all need something in those lines. That is social currency. So when you tell a joke to someone, what is the social currency you're looking for? Laughter. Laughter is the social currency you're looking for. Because basically the laughter is like applause. The laughter is basically saying, good job. When you tell a joke, you're looking for social currency. So when you really truly want is social currency. Listen, listen. You need to give them something that they will feel will give them social currency if they forward it on. Let me say that again. When you're deciding what to post on Facebook, when you're deciding what video to make on YouTube, when you're deciding what to do, what to put on your website even, you need to ask yourself the question, when someone else reads this, when someone else watches this, will it make them want to forward it on? And the way you know that is, do they believe that if they do forward it on, they're going to receive social currency? And there's only two types of content that receive this social currency: content that educates or content that entertains. That's basically the only two types of content on the internet, people. If you're not educating or entertaining, it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve any kind of online success, because people have no reason to forward it on. People have no reason to copy it. People have no reason to share it. And people have no reason to see you as an expert. So how do you make something go viral? How do you decide that? Let me give you an example. One of the best examples of this I can give, you can go see it yourself. Just go to YouTube, and I want you to do a search on "will it blend?" Those three words, will it blend? And you will find a company, uh, and this company makes very specific blenders. You know, like the kind of kitchen blender. You know, like, but these are blenders for commercial companies like restaurants and bars. Now, these aren't cheap blenders. I mean, they're like $300, $400, sometimes even $700 blenders. But what they specialize in is high quality blenders, blenders that don't break, blenders that don't get stuck, they don't jam. They'll cut through anything, you know, because that is, I mean, you realize that in the restaurant or in the bar world, the most profit comes from drinks. And the most profit from drinks comes from drinks with lots of ice in them, because water costs nothing. You follow me? Less liquor, more water, more profit. So the blender is one of the most important, it is one of the most important tools for a bar or a restaurant to become profitable. Well, the people over at Will It Blend realized that. So they had to prove that on a Friday or Saturday night, if you're using one of our blenders, it won't jam on a big hunk of ice. The blades won't break because some dumb bartender put in the wrong thing. You follow me? It's a tough blender and it'll never let you down. So what they did was, the owner of the company uh, put on a lab coat, called himself a scientist, he's not, and created a fake laboratory. And what he does is he has one of his blenders there, and all he does is this: will it blend? Let's find out. And so then he kind of has a little humor in there and stuff. But what he does is this. This is what he does in every single video. He'll open up the top of the blender and he'll grab some random item. And it could be anything. It could be, you know, it could be an iPhone. It could be a large stick. It could be action figures. It could be Bic lighters. It could be anything. And what he'll do is he'll dump those in the blender. You know, things you would never actually blend. And then, as if it's a real experiment, he puts the lid on it and says, let's find out. And he pushes it. And when he pushes the button to blend, we're all watching. And sure enough, even if there's an iPhone in there, it blends it into dust. And at the end, he takes the lid off, dumps it, the dust on the table, and goes, yep, that iPhone blended. And that's the end of the video. At no point does he say, go buy our blender. At no point does he give prices. At no point does he give features. What he simply does is have a fake experiment to show their competitive advantage. And their competitive advantage is that they have a high quality blender that doesn't break. Now, when you're doing something like this, you must be branded. It can't be totally random. It can't be, oh gosh, I saw someone do this on TV. I'm going to do it and we'll be famous. No, you've got to somehow include your product, somehow include your service in order for it to be relevant. Because what you want to do is you want a connection between what they just saw in the video or read in the post and your company. Now, remember, if you're going to do this, what are the two requirements of any post or any video you do? It's either got to educate or it's got to entertain, or in a perfect world, and I made up this word, edutain, edutainment, combination of the two. Tie in your product. Think about your product or service and think about your competitive advantage. What makes you better than everybody else? What is it you do that no one else does? Because that's what really he was trying to show. And his sales on his blenders went through the roof. And all he did was make a free YouTube video. But he understood what people would see. And you've got to remember, the reason you make the video is not the reason they watch the video. They watch it to be entertained or educated. You made it to sell more blenders. Keep the sale subtle or non-existent, okay? Don't talk about your product. One of the biggest mistakes I tell people all the time is don't ever, ever, ever take a TV commercial that you've had made for your product or your service, that actually is on TV. Don't ever take that commercial and just put it on YouTube. Ain't no one gonna watch that. No. People, for the most part, don't like commercials. Okay, they endure them. They don't look for them, well, except for the Super Bowl, but only because they're either educational or entertaining. So don't use a TV commercial and don't think like a TV commercial. That doesn't work on YouTube. If there's a lot of advertising in it, it will fail. That is strategy one. Create content that goes viral. And it's not as hard as you think. You just got to sit down and think on how you can educate on your competitive advantages or entertain with it and link it back to your product or service. Okay. Strategy number two on Bricks to Clicks is build the leadatron. Oh, and I made that word totally up myself too. But I will tell you, this is one of the most powerful techniques I've ever seen to get a lead. And trust me, I've had a lot of feedback from people who said, Eric, our website was just a glorified pamphlet, a virtual billboard, and did nothing for us. Yes, it was out there, but we never got any business from it. Well, many of those who put the leadatron on their system suddenly saw leads coming in. And don't worry, this isn't a product. I'm not selling you anything. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it right now. It's a strategy. One of the keys is to remember that everyone on the internet is anonymous. Okay. In other words, if you have a website, I can look at your statistics and I can tell you, oh, you had this many people come in. They spent this amount of time on this page. They clicked here, then went here, then went here. They stayed there for a while, then went here, then left. I can tell you that. But the one thing I can't tell you is who it was. You see, all we can do is count footprints, but we can't see who they are. So understand this, 1,000 people could visit your website, but you have no idea who they are. You couldn't contact them to save your soul. So the key here, the key to getting leads from your website where you never were before is to convince them to contact you. Your goal with a website, and in many cases, social media, is to convince the reader to contact you because you have no idea who they are. The key to this is to calculate either their pain point or their desire point. That's what I call them, the pain point or the desire point. Everyone on this planet makes decisions based on either avoidance of pain, or they want something they do not currently possess. Okay? Every single decision you make in your life, and I mean every decision, can be tied to either avoiding pain or gaining something you don't have. Some people just call it pain and greed. Okay? Pain and greed. Everything from every decision is tied to one of those two things. Like, I mean, heck, eating, going to the bathroom, choosing a husband or wife. You follow me? Everything is tied to that. And when you realize that a consumer's decision on buying a product from this vendor or that vendor is also tied to that, then you can hit them where they are. Let me put it another way. Too many businesses that have been in business too long for their own good, too many business owners tend to think that people actually want what he sells, what he or she sells. And that's just not true. In fact, let me just say it in a different way, and it's going to irritate some of you, but I'm being honest. No one wants your product or service. Listen to me. No one wants your product or service. They want the value it brings. They want the feeling it gives them. They want the notoriety, the exposure that buying that car, they want people to look at them driving that car. They don't want the car. You follow me? Easiest way to put this is this. No one wants a shovel, they want a hole. You follow me? No one wants a shovel. They want a hole. And too many businesses out there think that the public actually wants their product or their service. And when you start to think mistakenly that way, you make mistakes and you start to advertise and you start to think and promote everything like that. And I'm here to tell you that if you simply focused on the value your product or service brings instead of the product itself, you'll do much better. Much better. I can give you an example of this. You've probably noticed that when you go on YouTube, you could type in the number one search starts with how do I or how to. Those are the number one searches on YouTube. People want to learn how to do something. Well, there's a lot of them out there on plumbing. Like, how do I fix a broken P-trap on a sink? How do I unclog a drain? Very common searches. And when you watch it, it's usually a plumber showing you how to do it. It'll be someone showing you a plug drain and they show you what to do and what not to do. And at the end, they say, great, here you go, good luck. Now, the question I have for you is, why would a plumber teach you how to do what he gets paid to do? A lot of people would think, doesn't that cost him money? I mean, doesn't he want to kind of keep that secret? Because if everyone knows how to unclog a drain, then he's no longer needed. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. What ends up happening is people will watch this plumber unclogging a drain. They'll realize it's probably a bigger job than they want to tackle. And then they think, oh gosh, I need to call someone. Well, who do you think they're going to call? The guy that taught them something. Why? Because they see him or her as an expert. Remember this, people would rather do business with an expert than a salesman. I'll say that again. People would rather do business with an expert than a salesman. And when you watch someone on YouTube do something, your mind automatically kind of puts them in an expert area, especially if you like it, and especially if they really know what they're doing. So when you build this leadatron, which we're getting to, I'm just trying to help you understand the mindset necessary to make this work. You've got to realize that every decision is based on they either want to avoid pain or they want something they don't currently have. So let's take an example, say a realtor. How would a realtor use this? Okay. Well, Buying and selling a house is the top anxiety in the world next to divorce and death, right? And so if you're wanting to talk about whether we're talking about avoidance of pain or gaining something, I'll be honest, you're gonna get more out of showing pain, showing the pain you can avoid. So how would a realtor do it? Well, a realtor would talk about helping them get past the pain. In other words, well, you'll see. I'll keep using the realtor example. The next step is once you calculate that pain point or desire, is you build a top 10 report. And this could be a little PDF, a little Acrobat file, a little file they can download from the internet or just read on their screen or on their phone. And it's a little one pager. And I like to call it a top 10 report. So in the case of the realtor, and focusing on the fact that pain usually drives people to buy houses or sell their house, then the title of this top 10 report might be something like, the top 10 mistakes you can't afford to make when choosing a realtor. The top 10 mistakes you can't afford to make when choosing a realtor, or the top 10 mistakes you can't afford to make when selling your house. You see what that title does? What does it communicate? It communicates that you can make mistakes. It communicates that there can be pain. And what this report will do is help them avoid that. Are you following me on this? So you build this report and you put it on your website. And so think of it this way. Your homepage, you have a call to action, kind of a big button there on your homepage somewhere saying, download our favorite, our most popular report, top 10 mistakes you can't afford to make when choosing a house. Well, trust me, if someone is in the market for a house, you think they're going to click on that? Yes. I mean, it's call it clickbait, but that's exactly what it is. I call it a teaser. Okay. But it is. But it's not clickbait like it's fake. It's not a bait and switch. Not at all. We're going to give them exactly what we promise. So we build a top 10 report. We create a call to action, like I said, and we put it on our homepage, get our best, our most popular report, top 10 ways to avoid making a mistake in buying a house. So they click on the call to action. Now, what do you think is going to happen when they click on that call to action? They're going to go straight to the page that has that report. Some people will say, you mean, no, wait, we're going to ask them for their info, right? We're going to say, okay, you want to see this report? Give us your info. We're going to give a trade. You see, you need to realize that a person's personal information has a value associated with it. Their name, their email, their phone, everything about them, it has a value. And they're not just going to give it to you because you asked for it. That's why your contact us form on your website doesn't do garbage for you. Is because they're not just going to give it to you. They're worried they're going to start getting junk mail and junk email and all that kind of garbage. So what you got to realize is that no one is just going to give you their personal information, but they will trade for it. They will trade for it. And that's kind of what we're doing here. So they see the call to action. They go through. And the question is, if I want their information, do I ask for it now? In other words, as a trade? Do you want this top 10 report? Just give me your info. No, that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they think when I'm talking about the trade, when they talk about the Leadertron, they think that's what happens. Let me tell you, that's not. So we're on the Realtor website, right? So bam, download our top report. They click on it. And guess what they're going to get when they click on that call to action? They're going to get the report, the top 10 list. They're going to view it. We're not asking for any information from them at all. Some of you are probably saying, Eric, what's the point of that? We still don't know who they are. And now they got help. Wait. At the bottom of that report, or at the bottom of the web page, depending on how you do it, of whatever you just gave them, the top 10, whatever, they're going to see another call to action. This one is a little different. It says something like, we would love to email you our top 50 mistakes that people make when buying a house or selling a house. We just need a little bit of information. So then that's when you ask for their name, their email, and their phone number. That's it. Name, email, and phone number. You don't need anything else. Remember, the longer your form on the internet is, the fewer people will fill it out because everyone on the internet has ADD and they're lazy, including you. How many times have you been to a large contact form and it was asking for everything but their mother's maiden name? Come on. The shorter it is, the more we'll fill it out. So all we're going to do is ask the minimum necessary to contact them. Name, email, phone. Now you might be saying, Eric, technically that's not the minimum. You could do either name and email or name and phone. No, I learned that one the hard way. Always ask for their email and their phone. And the reason is because you'd be surprised how many people can't type in their own email address or make a mistake typing in their own phone number. And what happens is by asking for the email and the phone, you kind of have a backup in case they screwed up. Because if they mess it up, you can't contact them. Okay. Doesn't count as a lead if you can't contact them. So let me go through this again. Call to action on the homepage. They click it. They get the top 10 list. At the bottom, we offer them the bigger gift. Okay. And then that's when we email it to them. And then we call them and we say, hey, just want to make sure you got that email I just sent. See, that's the reason you call them. But in fact, what you're really wanting to call them for is that lead and to talk to them about your business. I'm telling you, I've seen companies incorporate the Leadatron and they're getting, depending on the size of the company, 10 to 20 leads a week that they weren't getting otherwise. Simply because they understood the psychology of lead generation. You got to realize that the reason that we have to go through a two-part thing where there has to be we give them something. The reason we do that is because the number one barrier to you doing business on the internet is trust. When people go to your website for the very first time, they don't trust you. They don't know you. And they're not just going to give you any information because you asked for it. And in fact, even if you promise them something, they really don't assume you're going to keep your promise. So when we offer them something like a really good report, and then when they click on it, we give it to them, not asking a thing, what happens to the trust barrier? It goes down. The barrier to them doing business with us goes down because their trust in us increases. And also, the reason they're going to give us their information is because, you know what? We made a promise once, we kept it. We're making another promise, we'll probably keep it. I'm telling you, this works. So if what you're trying to do is generate leads, this is one of the best ways to do it. Incentivize social. Okay. There's a lot of social media contests out there, and that's kind of and there's a lot of social media. That's what I'm looking for here. Ways to do things. And this is one of my favorites. There was a frozen yogurt shop here in Amarillo, which is where I live. And I remember it opening, but then 2 weeks within it opening, I started seeing all these posts from my friends on Facebook. And it was just posting them saying, hey, we're here at this froyo place. We're here. Frazzleberries, which is what it was called. And I thought, what is going on? Why are all these people posting about it? So finally, curiosity got me because I kept seeing this every day. And I went to that frozen yogurt place. And sure enough, above the door, there's a sign. And the sign says, mention us on Facebook and get 25% off of your purchase. And so what people were doing is they were going onto this place's Facebook page and mentioning them and then getting their yogurt. And when they got to the cash wrap to pay for their yogurt, they showed their phone showing that they'd done it and they got 25%. And imagine that, 25% off of what? Yogurt. It's not much at all. And yet They had over 4,000 followers within a couple of weeks. I'm telling you, it does amazing. You can also run a social media contest. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot of different ways to do it. The way that I see it works the best, I remember there was a ophthalmologist, or who's a guy that does braces. Is that right? I think it is. Anyway, a dentist who does braces. And anyway, what he does is every 3 months, he will pick 5 of his patients, usually kids, contact their parents and say, hey, I want to put a picture of your kid on my Facebook page, smiling, showing their braces, wearing one of our t-shirts. And then at the end, and I'm going to put 5 other kids on there too. And then at the end of a month, whichever kid's picture has the most likes, their braces are free. I want you to think about that for a minute. Why do you do that? Because the parents of that kid are going to go out and tell all of their friends to go like that picture. Now, who do parents have as friends? That's right, other parents. And so what ends up happening is every 3 months, he does this promotion and he gets a ton of new clients. Trust me, he gets many more than the free one he had to give away. He loves it and it works. There's a lot of ways you can look at social media contests. Offerpop.com kind of gives you some examples. It's a good one. Photo contests are another way to do it. You can do it with dresses. You can do it with clothing. You can do it with anything. Email campaigns are another different way to do this. I highly recommend that if you're going to do an email campaign, sending and receiving email, that you use a program that's what they do. The 2 biggest ones out there are MailChimp and Constant Contact. They're both great. I happen to prefer MailChimp only because that's what I started using in the very beginning. And I've been using it forever. But your SBDC counselor can also give you a lot of good advice. And I know that Constant Contact has a pretty good deal with them as well. So you can probably get some discounts and stuff like that. One of the reasons I like MailChimp, though, is because if you're just starting out and don't have a lot of money like me so many years ago, with MailChimp, you can send up to 12,000 emails to 2,000 subscribers every month for free. Okay, for free before they start charging. And so in starting out, it can kind of make it easy to know if it's working or not. But I'm telling you, it really does work. Keep in mind that if you're sending out email advertising, the majority of it can't be advertising. You can't just send out an ad because that's called spam and they will come after you. No, it needs to be content. It needs to be something someone would actually, it needs to be either educational or entertaining. Like I said earlier, we call that balancing content to the ads. So maybe your content is maybe 75% content, like I learned something like a recipe, or content like a funny video that made me laugh. And then 25% of it is, hey, for more of these, come check out our website, or hey, get the t-shirt, or something like that. That's the ad. There's really only one type of business that can do 100% advertising in an email and get away with it, and that's a restaurant. Like, hey, we're having a buy one, get one today. They can get away with that, or have coupons, email coupons out. But the majority of us, we're going to have to give them a little content as part of our email if we want them to actually open it up. You also got to figure out how often you're going to send this stuff out. And I'll tell you this, the minimum is at least once a month. If you're not sending an email, if you're going to decide to do this, then you better be doing it at least once a month, or don't do it at all. Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you really don't need to be doing it every day. I mean, that's a lot. You're filling up someone's email inbox and they're going to unsubscribe to you. So you got to find a balance. Once a week is about as much as I've seen most people do. Restaurants can get away with multiple times a week, with their specials. Don't forget today is, Tuesday, free taco day or something. And so restaurants can get away with it a little more, but the rest of us, I really wouldn't go more than once a week at the most. Most people stay around the 2-week model typically. And the subject line is key, the most important line. The most important thing about that email is the subject. Okay. Do not, whatever you do, don't put the word newsletter. Okay. No one wants a newsletter. Newsletter has no meaning. It has no value. No one wants to read a newsletter. Okay. So the way you get people to sign up is not by saying, would you like to get our newsletter? No, don't ever say that. And that better not be on your website. Okay. Because no one's going to sign up for it. You've got to give them value. And so what some stores will do is they will say, hey, join our VIP club. You know, you get the newest discounts first or the best discounts. So they'll call it a community, a VIP group, you know, a top 10. Everyone wants to be a part of that group. Restaurants are even smarter. They have the way they rename their newsletter is even better. They don't call it an email newsletter at all. You know what a restaurant calls it? A breakfast. They call it a birthday club. A birthday club. And what they claim is on your birthday, sign up for our birthday club, and on your birthday, you'll get a free yada yada, whatever. And all they need is your email address. Well, guess what? Now you're on their newsletter list. But they call it a birthday club because that is the value that allowed you to trade your email address for. You see what I mean? No one's going to give you their information just because you ask for it, but they will trade for it. The subject line is key. If you're doing a newsletter, make it different every time. Let them know it's from you, but let them kind of know what they're about to read. Make them want to read it. If you want to know about subject lines, one of the best ways to do it, one of the best ways to learn about subject lines is when you're at the grocery store and you're checking out and you're in line to check out. I want you to look over at the magazine rack. It's right next to you, you know, next to the gum and the chocolate bars. Well, that magazine rack has a bunch of what on it? It has a bunch of, you know, crazy stuff, Bat Boy, UFO, took my husband, stuff like that. Follow me? You may laugh at that and think it's silly, but I'm here to tell you, if you want to learn how to do subject lines, if you want to learn what I call power words, you study those. Those people who run those magazines get paid a lot of money to convince you to pick it up. And they use their titles and they use their words to do it. I'm telling you, it's almost like a college course. You look at the words they use, power words, okay? It'll make sense when you see them. Well, where do you get email addresses? First of all, don't you ever, 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 ever buy an email address, okay? It is illegal to buy an email address list. It is illegal, okay? You're going to need to get those email addresses one at a time. One at a time. So a restaurant could get it just with their birthday club by having waiters and waitresses go out there and, try to get it. And the way you can incentivize the wait staff to help you with this is you can say, hey, whichever wait person turns in the most email addresses at the end of the week, it's an extra $100. You see what I'm saying? So as a restaurant, you should be filling up your newsletter with hundreds of people every week. I mean, it should be a no-brainer. Retail, like I said, and I've already mentioned this, the happiest someone will ever be with you as a business owner is when they are checking out. That is the happiest they will ever be, which means it's the perfect time to get them on your email list. But once again, don't call it an email newsletter. You're going to what? Call it a community, a club, something, okay? If you have the kind of product or service that requires paperwork to sign up for, then this is even easier. You simply put it in the paperwork and ask for their email address and then explain down in the fine print that it's going to be to send you a newsletter. Done. That way, every sale you make, you get an email. Your newsletter grows automatically. And granted, people need the ability to opt out, okay? But that's the easiest way to get them. And of course, when you go out to a conference and you go to the vendor area, you're always going to see those big old fish bowls sitting on those tables full of business cards. That is the other way. And the way they do it is with contests. The only reason that fishbowl is full of business cards is because they're either going to have a drawing for an iPad or they're giving away t-shirts or even, my gosh, luggage tags. You know what I'm saying? and people are dropping their business card in. They're trading their personal information for something, even something like a koozie, you know. So the conference fishbowl can be a way to get hundreds, and I mean hundreds of email addresses added to your list. But make sure when they enter the contest, you're letting them know that this does enter them in to receive updates from your company. Don't use emails. Don't use the word email. Watch for the words there. Strategy number 6, the business card call to action. Now, most of you have business cards, but what most of you also have is a one-sided business card. I would highly recommend that you use both sides of the business card. Turn the other side into a coupon that someone can bring in, because what that does is it convinces them to keep the business card and not just throw it away. Man, think about it. How many people have you ever just handed a business card and good and well they took it back to their desk and either threw it away or put it in a pile of hundreds of others they've received, and they'll never look at it again? Well, if you want them to keep up with that business card, keep track of it, remember it, use it, consider putting a coupon on there. Now, if you really want to take it even further, this strategy is off the charts. I have a friend who runs a Mexican restaurant here in Amarillo. A wonderful, amazing Mexican restaurant. And we've been friends for a very long time. And he comes up to me one day and he gives me a stack of his business cards. And he says, Eric, here, I want you to take these. And I said, why'd you give me a stack of your business cards? And he goes, look at the back. And I looked at the back and it said, free bowl of queso on your next visit. Whoa, that's kind of cool. He said, I just want you to hand them out to your friends. And I get this because that's what he's doing, bringing people in, knowing that they'll pay for other food. But then he took it a step further. He said, Eric, I want you to put your initials really small. I want you to put, ES at the bottom of every single business card. And I said, okay. So I did. I figured he was like tracking, who brought in the most people. Sure enough, within a couple of weeks, I got a call from him saying, hey, Eric, I've had 20 of your cards come in already. Hey, you got a free meal on me next time you come in. You see how everyone wins here? He incentivized me, one of his customers, to sell his food. Commission the card, get a lead. Remember, people would rather do business with an expert than a salesman. Always speak to someone's pain or desire. Remember, people don't want your product. They don't want your service. They want the value it brings. So instead of speaking about your product all the time, start talking about what their pain is you're helping them avoid, or what dream it is you're helping them achieve. Remember, curiosity motivates. Have a good subject line on your newsletter. Teasers, calls to action. I love it. You got to make people want to know. People are like cats. They're curious. And some people call it clickbait. But once again, sometimes that's used negatively. Clickbait many times means that it's not what they promised. When I say it, I call it a teaser. And I mean, you give them exactly what you promised. Remember, passion is contagious. Video really shows that more than anything. And if you're passionate about your product, it is contagious and people will love it. If you decide you're going to do video one day, which I'm going to do some classes on videos. If you're going to do a video one day, make sure you're passionate, because that comes across. Okay. Y'all have been an amazing audience. Any questions on anything I've covered?
I am going to allow, there's no Q&A, but if they want to raise their hand, I can let them speak. I did want to say that it was funny. It was orthodontist was the so
Ophthalmologist,
I know.
optometrist,
And
ornithologist.
I kept thinking, what is he trying to orthodontist? I do have someone raising their hand. Let me let him speak first. I want to update people on what you've got coming up, but I'm
Okay.
going to allow Daniel to talk. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to promote him for a second. He's on an, okay, Daniel, you should be able to speak now. You'll unmute on your, yep.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
All
Hi,
right.
Daniel.
Hey, thank you for this is an excellent webinar.
Thank you.
I'm an acupuncturist and I wrote a book, Pain Relief in 3 Seconds.
Mhm.
And
Perfect.
I have another title.
Oh, he went mute again. He muted.
Oh, let's, Daniel, if you'll unmute again. There you go.
Okay, so I have 2 titles of my book, Pain Relief in an Instant or Pain Relief in 3 Seconds. I'm going to sell it on Amazon, but I'm also going to make YouTube treatment videos for my website. So what title grabs you more? Pain
3
Relief?
seconds. 3 seconds every
3
time.
seconds.
Here's the deal. Why do I call them top 10 reports? It's because the human mind puts value on numbers. If I said, hey, I have some tips to pain relief, or I have 10 tips to pain relief, which one are you going to choose? 10, because the human mind puts a value on quantity. You feel like you're going to get something. Always use numbers where you can. That's why I call it a top 10 report.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question. How to apply the top 10 reports into, okay, this is someone that is selling handmade skincare products. Where to find the information? So I think they're just wanting to get to the weeds, get down there and figure out.
Well, first of all, like I said, the first thing you're going to want to do is remember you're not selling lotion. You're not selling skincare products. You're selling something else. Okay. So get to that point first. You know, what are you selling? You're selling cleaner skin. You're selling short sleeve shirts. You're selling, you follow me? You're selling touch. You're selling all of these things. So then come up with a top 10 report based on that. Okay. Something like, you know, how to avoid, you know, a lot of if you make some homemade, it sounds almost organic, then start talking about the commercialization and the chemicals and stuff like that. You know, like the top 10 most dangerous chemicals found in national lotion. You follow me? There's so many ways you can approach this.
I do want to update everybody on Eric's calendar of webinars next week. We've got some exciting topics. On Tuesday, the 16th, our Lunch and Learn series, he's going to be speaking on how to pick the perfect web designer. And then on Friday, the 19th at the Lunch and Learn noon hour, 5 signs your website needs your website needs an overhaul. So there's another question, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew what's coming up. Okay. Let's see. I couldn't get into your 5 ways to tell your webinar. Oh, she said webinar also. Website needs an overhaul. What is the main takeaway? That webinar is coming up next Friday, the 19th. The nice thing about our webinar series is that we will have those up on demand after the webinar.
Right. If you accidentally miss it, you can still watch
Eric, anything
Yeah.
else?
it. Oh, I think we're good. I think we're good. This was great. Lots of good questions. Thank you.
So we will pop off and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.